This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 23 for September 18th, 2005. I got to sit back in my big leather chair here. Oh, this is nice. Here we are once again at Noonan's Bar and Grill in beautiful Larkspur Landing, California, and with a large crowd this time, and we're glad you're here. And you came for the pocket protectors, didn't you? That was the real reason they're here. Let me introduce around the table our twits and say right up front that John C. Dvorak and Patrick Norton were scared off by the audience. Well, John said, I want Bordeaux, and we didn't have any for him. And Patrick, how much coffee can one guy drink? But let me introduce Alex Lindsay from the Pixel Corps. He is here, and actually with his Pixel Corps camera crew.
Hello.
So we're going to we have a 3-camera shoot going on here.
It's a test.
See how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kevin will distribute it on Revision 3, and he's actually switching it live. He's got a crew of a lot of people. You want to introduce the people that you brought here, or do you even know their names?
I do. Members? I think I'll blank out on somebody, I'm sure. But we have...
Who's our director? Is she directing?
And I'm blanking out on your name right now. I'm sorry. What?
Sandra.
Yeah. That's it. So Sandra, and then we have Gene, Tony, Mike...
On the cameras. Kenji.
My brother Joe is back here.
Hey, Joe. That's your brother?
That's my brother
nice
Joe.
Yeah,
so...
that's great.
But we're going to... we're trying to do... Playing around with a lot.
This is like a big marriage here because we've got my staff, Matt Granowitzki, the TWiT intern, and then we've got... and then, of course... And I want to introduce... Of course, I'll go around and then I'll introduce our special guest. Kevin Rose is here. Back from the wars, and with a big story too, which we'll talk about in just a second.
It feels like dignation. I mean, we're drinking here, we're having a good time. It's like
what do you have in there?
It's a Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen,
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, this is there's a brew pub as part of this, so you can have anything you want.
These chairs are nice and comfortable.
I love the leather chairs. People thought we were making this up on TWiT 22, but now they can see it is the real thing. David Prager also here.
Good to be here.
And you're sporting the pocket protector. It looks
I am
good.
sporting it. It looks a little weird on my shirt, but
I like that. That's the TWiT pocket protector. And Robert Herron, welcome from PC Magazine. You do a lot of this now. I see you all the time on Digital Life TV.
We're getting our new studio finished up. I think it's this week. The walls will be finished.
I kind of like the half-finished wall look.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's better than that plain gray wall we were shooting with. That was actually the back corner.
Yeah, so, but I like it kind of half-finished. It was kind of hip,
And my new lab is almost finished.
Oh, that's great. Your HD lab.
More space.
And we have a special guest today with us, and I'm really thrilled to have him. He's really, in many ways, the true father of podcasting. Doug Kay of IT Conversations is here. Doug, it's great to have you.
Oh, it's great to be here, Leo. I live only a mile away, and I heard there was free beer.
You walk. I'll walk a mile for a free beer. Doug started IT Conversations when? In 2001?
It was actually 2003.
Mm-hmm. But you've been podcasting?
Podcasting since almost 2003, when we added that RSS feed in and the enclosure tag. And
there was no name for it at the time.
That's right. It's been 2.5 years.
Yeah. When you saw these Johnny-come-latelys like us, did you kind of make you mad?
No, not at all. No, because every time you do something, my traffic goes up. You're good for me.
We're all good for each other. IT Conversations now does 12 a week.
We're doing 12 shows a week right now, ramping up to about 14 because it's conference season, and we do a lot of conference audio.
I like the conference audio because I don't have to go to the conferences. I can listen to all the presentations on audio, and it's great. Web 2.0 I listen to, eTech. Web 2.0 is coming up. You're going to do another one?
Web 2.0 is coming up, and we got our best show, our most popular show from last year. I better not say best, or I'll offend all the rest of the conference people, right? But the most popular event we did last year was PopTech, which is held in Camden, Maine. And
that's because
here's the scoop for TWiT. Tomorrow we're going to announce that we will have a live stream of the audio from PopTech this year, which is about 4 weeks from now, and that'll be a free live stream.
You kind of have an interesting business model.
What's a business model?
Don't ask me. Last one.
It's just like
your business model's the same as mine. But the idea eventually will be, these conferences, you're kind of scooping them, right? Because they want to sell tapes.
Well, what we do is, in most conferences, we're basically metering out the content one show per week. So if
you spread it out.
Yeah, if there's a 25 presentation conference, it's going to take 6 months before you get through that.
Right.
So we're not really competing with the conferences. We're actually enhancing that value because you might have 400 people at a conference, but we're going to hit 40 to 80,000.
Right.
So we're really extending the reach of those events.
So they don't mind that you take
Not at all. Everybody's renewed this year.
It's really great. I just love it. And unlike TWiT, because I have one volunteer, Akron Nowitzki. You have a massive.
We have 51 at the moment.
That's
who
great.
do all the post-production work in their spare time.
That's really
and we have a tip jar that feeds them. So please donate to our tip jar. 100, as I say, 100% of your donation goes to our volunteers who produce this content for you in their spare time.
You've got that memorized. So I actually modeled a lot of what we do on what Doug's been doing successfully all along, and it's a good model. It works pretty well. Yeah. Thank you. Let's get to our news stories of the week, and I know that Kevin, I saw this on your blog, and then it was Dig Doug.
Yes. Yeah. I see.
How should David set this up?
David probably should, since he's the one that told me about it originally.
Is his scoop?
Yeah, it's his scoop.
And is it true, or what do we know?
Okay, what we know. Well, should I give a little bit of background story?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know, Charles Hirschhorn started the network G4.
Charles Hirschhorn.
And, they purchased...
Hollywood Wunderboy. He carried coffee for...
17 Candles.
17, what's her name? 16 Candles,
Yeah.
the redhead. What's her name?
Molly Ringwald?
Yeah, Molly Ringwald. That's his claim to fame, right? He got coffee from Molly Ringwald.
Well, see how quick can we make a long story short?
I'm not kidding.
He convinced
I
some
work
people
for
at
him, I didn't know
Comcast to put in money because of the fact that video games generate a lot of money.
Bigger than
Big
movies.
industry said, well, let's make a television network out of it. Then they ended up buying Tech TV, and of course Tech TV had all...
They had the opposite idea with Tech TV. Let's not make a television network out of it.
Yeah. So, let's see. Fast forward a little bit. Like he bought Tech TV, killed off a lot of the tech programming, got rid of TechTV.com the way it was beforehand, and let's see. This last Friday, there was a meeting. They called a last-minute meeting. Said, "Hey, everyone, come at 4 p.m. Come to this meeting." And they did a little PR thing. And when I say PR thing, basically that means that he said, "I'm not going to be in charge anymore. I'm really excited to tell you we've been looking for someone. We found someone from DirecTV, a guy named Neil something. I actually didn't know the name. Neil something that used to be with DirecTV is going to be running the show, and he was excited to tell everyone about that, and that he'd still be involved to some extent on the board or something like that." But that was what officially went down on Friday.
You think?
I don't know. I mean, there's ways of pushing people out or, enticing people to step down. Who knows if he got a golden parachute or not. But
is he going to spend more time with his family?
Yeah, that's
probably.
Yeah.
But
pursuing other interests.
Right. Well,
Timbuktu.
Now, basically, everything I know is through I used to work there, so I know people that told me exactly what happened. And so
that meeting's for sure. We know that.
That meeting's for sure. That happened. So I told Kevin. Kevin immediately.
I was like, this is going on Dig.
Posted a Dig story. And then, what's interesting to see, I think, is that the immediate fallout is just the fact that everyone thinks that it's such a positive thing. And part of it is twofold.
Yeah, well, the Diggers do. Because remember, the Diggers, many of them are Tech TV fans.
Yeah, well, and I think it's several-fold. I mean, the biggest thing is the main people that care are the people that were upset of what happened to the original TV.
Which is a small group and growing smaller by the day.
So, yeah. But the fact that he was the one in charge of it, they think that maybe this is the beginning of a change.
Well, he was the guy who put it together, right? So if he's gone, maybe games, gear, gadgets, and gigabytes is history, you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think that they might turn into QVC, like selling knives or something.
Well,
who knows what's going to happen.
That's exactly right. I mean, a lot of the excitement is the fantasy that Tech TV will reemerge.
Well, I'm only I was only the Photoshop guy that shows up every once in a while, and every time I speak in every public event, I get at least 4 or 5 people who come up to me and go, "Oh, I hate what they did to Tech TV." It's this constant. I think it's a dream of a lot of people.
I mean, as much as I hate what they did to Tech TV, and of course I lost my job because of it. Although ironically, I'm the only guy here who has a show on G4 still, so it's kind of a weird thing right now.
Ironic.
But, I just don't see it happening. I think you're right. I think much more likely the DirecTV guy comes in and says, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, clearly Comcast gave Hirschhorn a year, said turn it around." Didn't turn it around, right? I mean, is that?
I don't know I don't know exactly what the ratings are. I mean,
were they successful? Were they making money? Do you think?
Well, the ratings went up a little bit, but they're not making money. I just talked to a friend of mine that works there today, and he was telling me that they all believe, like the rumor inside of G4 right now is that it's going to go the way of kind of like a Spike TV.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were doing anyway. Yeah.
Right, but less gaming.
Right. So I think I think that's actually much more likely. It's not a return to tech.
Right.
It's going the other way even more.
Right.
Which just means there'll be just another, channel.
I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, I think what by Tech TV not existing anymore,
I think
it's really moved forward, like the revolution to the fact that the people that were involved with that are doing stuff like what we're doing right now, what Kevin's doing with System Indignation, and like there's so many other people exactly like what you're doing. I mean, you've been doing it forever.
Well, you guys are starting the show. I mean, we're all working in it.
Alex and I are doing a Mac show. Robert is doing with Patrick is doing Digital Life TV.
Yeah.
Look at this. I mean, it's in a way all the energy that the audience put into Bring Back Tech TV has really come to fruition, but not as a return to Tech TV, but IPTV.
Well, and especially for something like Tech TV, there's no real reason. I mean, not everybody, but most of the people who are on Tech TV are going to have a relatively high-speed connection. They can download, the BitTorrent. They don't need cable, and most of us would prefer not to have it.
Now, let's not give an argument to the DirecTV guy for why you shouldn't go back to tech, by the way. I'd like to keep call for help on G4 for a little while, okay, if you don't mind. Do you think that cable companies, television folks are just saying, tech on TV, failure, forget it?
Well, it all depends on, we know from working there that it's a very niche crowd, It doesn't really hit the masses the way that, traditional television does.
I love the niche, though. What's wrong with the niche?
There's nothing wrong with the niche, and if you can bring the niche advertisers to go along with that pay the high dollar rates for that niche audience, then you turn a profitable company. But
can you do that? Do you think you can do that on IPTV?
We're doing it right now. We have advertisers going in next month with some of our system episodes and things that we're doing. That's actually we're releasing a new system on Monday that has an advertiser from Adobe that is going to be really cool. But I think that the whole thing behind that is that you have a very small. You really don't have a whole lot of people working for you. When you have a team of like 5 people working at System,
so costs are low.
Costs are low. It's really easy to turn a profit. So that's the nice thing about doing it on your own.
I think that the dollars are going to follow the passion. If you get a network that goes after technology in a way that treats it like everything else, like selling jewelry, it's not going to be interesting. And you've proven that you can do this kind of production and have an audience. What's the audience now? How many people are listening?
We don't know. It's a couple 100,000.
It's a lot. A lot of people. Now, that's not big numbers by network television. It doesn't matter. It's enough.
It's enough for us.
Yeah. And it works. And as long as you've got the talent and you're disintermediating that distribution mechanism.
I like that.
This is all you need.
Right.
This works.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I personally think the future is the niche. That as we see more and more of this, as the cost of distribution becomes something that is free or close to it. Relatively to what it was. What you end up with is a whole slew of these kind of programs, and people start
for every topic you can think
exactly,
of.
And people
interests.
And as long as we can find them, and finding them will be the big thing. But as long as we can find them as consumers, we're going to get more of what we want. We're going to get the things people talking about what we really want. We really just want to show on Photoshop, or we just want one on our Mac.
So it's great for consumers because it's super niched. If you can afford to produce it, and that's kind of is there enough money in this highly focused programming?
Well, once you take out the cost of distribution, it's also you can have a whole lot of players that aren't looking for advertising. So it can also be and we talked about this previously, but it can also be people who want to promote something. So if BMW could have a whole thing about how they design their cars, or
they've
how
had a
cars
very
are designed,
successful internet ad campaign. It's done very well.
And so but if they made one just that was geeky about these German engineers going, now's the view, we're going so look at these. It'd be one of those things that
would do very well for them. I think it would reach out right to that core BMW driver.
There's probably enough people that want to know how a certain automobile is made. If they could do a special about exactly how they make their cars, and people would watch it.
It's really liberation. It's liberation from the notion of you have to produce programming that has such a mass audience because it's so expensive. It liberates you when you say, well, you don't have to have such a big audience. You can do a lot more stuff.
Well, and also as these shows begin to diffuse the market, that's the thing that really causes problems for the advertisers, because if it's fine if this one only has 200,000, but if 1,000 shows each are getting 200,000 viewers, that chews up the entire TV market. And if
that's scary for TV.
Then the advertisers have a hard time figuring out where to advertise, so they start producing their own shows. So it becomes a vicious cycle where they use that system because they can't find another way, because the system that they had isn't working anymore, and it further tears the system.
We're seeing that. We're right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're right back in the heyday of the internet bubble. And just look at eBay buying Skype for $2.6 billion with a guarantee of another $1.5 billion if things go well in a couple of years.
I think it's a bargain.
What?
Yeah.
I want to why.
Wow.
Yeah.
K says $2.6 billion is a deal.
But they're paying the money, I think, for the user base because the technology, obviously, eBay isn't big enough company.
Skype's revenues were $60 million for 2005.
They've got critical mass.
How is
Skype is a verb. Come on. How would you like,
a verb.
How would you like your product to be a verb? I'm going to Skype you. I mean, that's.
So what does eBay do with it to justify
that? I
that?
don't have a clue.
Well, for them, they were
Hopefully not screwed up.
A free product only made $60 million last year, worth $2.6 billion.
But aren't they the name?
They are, but they're not necessarily the best.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, you know.
But do you really? I mean, my parents don't know what Skype is. They've never used it before. I mean, we as geeks, we love Skype. I use Skype. I'm on
But
it
when
right
mom
now.
and dad come to you and say, "What should I use?" You're going to say, you would say,
I'll say Vonage. It's easier to set up.
They'll still say, "What's that?"
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
You just got Vonage, didn't you?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's great, as long as Keith isn't playing Star Wars Galaxies at the same time in my house. Because otherwise it just all of a sudden starts to corrupt on me. But it's not bad. It works great. It's unbelievable. I was just talking to my dad about it and talking him into actually setting up at his home. But
geeks who use Skype might then be coming here, though, to eBay for that very reason. It's like, well, okay, it's going to fall under that umbrella company.
eBay says what they're going to do is a call center. You're going to have a button.
Yeah.
Or buyers and sellers can talk to each other anonymously, where you just want to do it over the phone rather than, you can actually hear the person's
move your mic in a little bit so we can hear you.
where you can hear the person's voice that you're actually going to buy something from. And in that case,
I mean, I understand why eBay would want the service. I just don't understand why they wouldn't spend their own money to build it.
Right.
I mean,
that's why I think it's obviously they're buying the users. It's 54 million Skype subscribers, and someone here in an article I did the math and said that's $50, almost $50 a subscriber.
That's a lot of money. Very important. They could have built their own. Google didn't build their own. They went to global IP and licensed technology that I think sounds better than Skype.
Well, the idea that they would use it for their existing base of buyers and sellers makes no sense at all.
They gain nothing by that.
Those economics don't fly at all.
Okay, so it's something else.
Yeah, it's not the current user base.
They bought a brand name.
It's the future version, the future user base. I think that they're paying for.
I think it's the broadcast.com, and I really think that that's exactly what I mean when I say we're back in the bubble, guys. There's a lot of fantasy thinking going on, and you're seeing it with all these new .com startups. This looks like 2000 all over again.
I mean, to me, it just looks like there were a whole bunch of people looking at Skype, and eBay had an idea that that's what they want to do, and they just needed to jump on it and get it. And I think they were in a rush, and I just think it's a boondoggle.
Amazing what you can do with a lot of cash. Speaking of which, Microsoft, AOL, will Microsoft? They say they're going to. I mean, there's different stories. This was broken by Newsday. I think it was Newsday in New York City. One story says they take a stake in AOL, so they kind of merge AOL MSN. Another says they buy them outright. Then another story says Google and Yahoo are next in line bidding for AOL. Is AOL on the block?
I've heard that Time Warner is looking at getting rid of. I mean,
wouldn't you want to if you were Time Warner?
A lot of push to split those back out.
Practically put Time Warner out of business, that AOL purchase.
I don't know. AOL seems like a bad buy to me. I mean,
15 million subscribers, though. I mean, look, how many? What did you say that
Skype has 54 million?
But they're not paying. They're not paying $30 a month for it.
Skype makes money when you decide that you want to place calls to regular phones.
Right. That made $60 million.
Well, I think that, but AOL I think has, if I'm correct, like 30% more users for the chat stuff than MSN. So it would be increasing.
Well, MSN is a flop.
Right.
So Microsoft says, look at Google, Yahoo. They're about to eat our lunch with portals. What can we do? Just take a stake in AOL. They're basically saying, forget MSN. AOL will be the new MSN, right?
So you're thinking just like they're going to change their. I mean, obviously if they buy AOL, every single AOL homepage is now going to be the MSN.
Right. You combine AOL and MSN, you're the number one site on the net.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just seems to me for dial-up users.
Yeah, exactly. For dial-up users and for forcing people to go to a site. It's like the thing with Google and these other. Is that Google you have to make a decision on your own to launch and actually set that as your homepage and go to that site. And when you're going with MSN, and I don't know, it doesn't seem right to me. AOL doesn't seem like a good buy.
Well, it's just two vanillas.
AOL and MSN would be the number one website, beating in terms of uniques and page views, beating everybody, including Yahoo.
And that's probably because it's a default page for people who don't.
Well, I think that's why you get MSN, right? Yeah, because that's what comes up when you open Internet Explorer, So it makes. I don't think it's a bad deal for MSN.
Oh, if they can unload it, come on.
It's great for Time Warner if they can get that monkey off their back. But wait a minute, didn't AOL buy Time Warner? So it's kind of
it did, but
turning it around.
According to one of these articles that you referenced, Time Warner pulled in $42 billion in revenue last year, and 8.7 of it was from AOL. So Time Warner is obviously the big.
It's the big one now.
Too,
yeah. I'll never forget that ugly hug between Gerald Levin and Steve Case. Remember that? They announced the partnership. I get chills still thinking about it. What else you got the stories in front of you, David? What else is hot?
Well, let's see here. Part of the reason this whole thing went down between it might be going down between AOL and the others is because of the competition from the likes of Yahoo and Google. And you put ahead. Google is always launching new services. One of their new ones is their blog
search.
And I don't know. I think it's kind of it doesn't work quite so well now because yeah, you know what? When we were talking about that Charles Hirschhorn thing, so I thought I'd go to the Google blog service and see who had blogged about it. No, but I couldn't find it, even though people had. But
it's not up to date.
But what I do think is neat about it is the fact that you can create RSS feeds of searches. So if the service actually does do pretty real time, like Google News, you could theoretically, I guess, like Google Alerts, you could look for when people are blogging about specific things.
Google's kind of late to the table. They just put RSS in Google News. It's like they're discovering RSS. But
yeah.
That's the real value, though, of something like this is.
I mean, that would be cool if you could just subscribe to a RSS feed and then have a certain term that you're looking for and have that content automatically updated. But this is, Technorati's doing a better job at this than Google is. And I was reading a post by Dave Weiner on this, and he was just like, why do I want to go to a separate Google site? Like, make it all-inclusive in, like, one single unified Google tool. Why should I have to go to a separate blog search? And I agree.
Well, and that may be what this is all about, because one of the things that people have always complained about is blogs polluted Google, right? Would it be nice if Google – now, this is what I think. Google really just wants to get rid of blogs out of the search, because blogs do pollute it. Look what's happened. You search for failure. The number one – Google result on failure is whitehouse.gov. That's because
Google bombing.
No, it's Google bombing. It's because blogs all got together and they all linked to Bush's White House under the word failure, and that drives Google crazy. That pollutes Google.
But don't you think Google's making some money off of blogs when it comes to advertising?
Well, they own Blogger.com. Clearly they thought that was a good place to be, but I think they get two benefits, and this is why you won't see a single search that Dave Weiner wants. Yeah, sure, Dave Weiner wants that because he wants to promote blogging. But from the point of view of Google, this stuff pollutes Google. Let's move it off into a separate server that has, and then Google can say, oh yeah, we're not going to index blogs anymore. They've got their own search over there. They ghettoize blogs. It's actually bad for blogging.
Do you think that this is the right way that they're going about it? Because now they're crawling the RSS feeds though, versus like I kind of like how Technorati goes about it, where they have the tags, the ping, and the tags are also really cool. But it seems to me like David was saying, if the content's behind. Blogs is all about being able to search his content in real time and find the results.
Well, they have to fix that.
I think they should pull the blog content, make it separate from the rest of the search engine.
It's polluting.
So many people with their own blog sites are just reposting information that other bloggers have posted that it just becomes
99% of blogs are a waste of time. Don't you think blogs are? Come on, blogs are a waste of time.
And I see that on Dig occasionally too, where it's like I want to read who originally wrote this story, and but it's going to go to somebody's.
Click.
Oh, I know. That's why
redirect me again.
We get stories every single day that are reported because they're just simply people repurposing other content and cutting and pasting it. And that's what we have to block.
I just read this. Let me post it on my blog.
Yeah, sometimes you have to click 3 or 4 times to find the original source story, which is what you really want to read.
Well, it's funny. You see that all over the place.
Yeah. Everywhere.
From Gizmodos to gadgets, all over the place. They're repurposing news.
It's the self-referential internet. It's just there's really only 7 people.
The echo chamber.
Yeah, that's what happened. Bloggers really thought they were, and I suppose it's true of podcasting. We're really important because they were all stroking each other. And it was just a small group of people going, yeah, isn't this great? Isn't this great? In a way, that you're seeing that with podcasting, too, I think. We'll see that at Podcast Expo.
Yeah, but you may be the first podcast that has 3 cameras.
The first 3-camera podcast.
Right.
Is that wild or what?
Yeah.
I don't know what this is going to metamorphose into. I think some of the demand for video was people thought we would do the screensavers again.
I get my mother to look, I think.
Mom, look, he's center stage. Any other stories you've got there? We can actually ask the audience for their input.
Do you think that the 17-year-old who, the whole Paris Hilton thing, but I actually think that they're throwing him in jail for 11 months, but what I think is 10 times worse is the fact that 2 years after that whole period, he's not supposed to be able to use a net-connected device. Can you imagine every freaking device that you're going to touch from now until 2 years from now that gets developed is going to be a net-connected device?
This guy's going to be a pariah. He's not going to be able to date. He's not going to be able to
no
do
cell
anything.
phone.
He's 20 years old. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to use the internet.
By the time he gets out, he's not going to be able to use an iPod.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
because it's
That's social engineering skills.
Yeah.
Deal with people.
That is a harsh punishment.
Yeah, but do they really keep tabs on that stuff? I mean, did Kevin Mitnick really not go online late at night when he's kind of...
So we had Mitnick on the screensavers, supposedly his first day
right.
On the internet. I never bought it that he'd never been on the internet.
But you have to say that.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to accuse him. Yeah, I'm not going to. Yeah, I don't want him to go back to jail. I'm not going to accuse him of anything. But really, come on.
Yeah.
Now maybe we could, is there a statute of limitations? Maybe that's what we should have. We'll have a special twit. Kevin Mitnick's statute of limitations expires, and we can ask him. So you were on the net, weren't you? Come on, that's
yeah.
Wozniak gave him this tells you how long ago it was. Wozniak gave him a PowerBook. Really nice. We were all excited.
Yeah.
Gigahertz PowerBook. That was the fastest thing out there at the time.
Remember he was selling his old laptops on eBay, the ones that he got caught with?
Oh, was he? Yeah.
So wait, he gave you something. What do you have?
His wallet that he got caught with.
Mitnick gave you his wallet?
Yeah, he gave me his wallet.
He never gave me nothing. He gave you his wallet, really?
Yeah, I got it signed and everything.
He doesn't know that he gave it. He doesn't know that he gave it.
Yeah, picked the pocket.
Oh, you should invite Kevin Mitnick to be on.
I will. Yeah, I'd love to.
Are they still dating?
Darcy and Kevin? I don't know.
I haven't talked to Darcy in so long.
She's listening right now. You want to say anything to her?
Hi, Darcy. How you doing?
I miss Darcy.
Email me.
She was a character.
Darcy is now?
Darcy worked on the screensavers. She was quite a character.
With the little bunny ears?
She used to wear bunny ears.
She owned that Asteroids machine.
That's right.
She owned. That was really nice of her. She let us have that. Yeah.
Sorry, Asteroids coin out.
Reconditioned.
Oh.
And then, so she was working. She's quite an attractive young lady, and we had Kevin on the show a couple of times. Mitnick, not Rose.
Right.
And he had eyes for her, so they started dating, and then he stole her away.
Yeah.
And you can visit her at labmistress.com.
That's her website, labmistress.
What does it say? What is she doing? Does it say anything?
They just got a bunch of
baby photos?
Last time I talked to Kevin, which was about 6 months ago, something like that, I arranged it through her, so I think she's like still working.
There is something on the website called the Mitnick Monitor, Keeping Up with Kevin.
It ain't easy. That guy, I mean, you want to do well in life. Go to jail for a few years as a hacker. He's on lecture tour nonstop.
He was on like Alias or something like that. You know that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on there as an extra or something like that, as a hacker. And
yeah, he's like he's making tons of money. And
that's awesome.
Last time I talked to him, he had just come from Singapore. He was in Australia the week before that. He's on. His new book is out. We'll get him on.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I love Kevin.
like Kevin.
We'll definitely get him on. He gave you his wallet, huh?
Yeah.
I gave him my entire Tom Petty collection because he just got out of jail and he wants some music, and he gave you his wallet. Okay, it's all right. I'm not sensitive. It's okay.
I can bring it. You can check it out if you want, though.
Is it cool?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll take it back with me, but you can check it out. If
you should put it in plastic or something.
It is. It's in an FBI envelope.
Oh, even better.
FBI label across the.
Oh, you got to
official evidence.
Put it on the wall.
Yeah, it's in the eBay closet. eBay.
If you need money, if you ever need money, if the system thing doesn't work out.
Done.
Hey, tell us about the episode that's coming out on Monday.
Yes, we have a brand new episode coming out. It's going to be all about how to podcast. And you're in it, Leo.
I heard that.
Yes, we actually we start with the basic hardware, and then we show an advanced setup, which is, of course, your setup.
It's more advanced now. Look at this.
I know, it's gotten pretty crazy.
It's gotten crazier and crazier.
But, so if you ever wanted to create your own podcast, it's pretty much anything and everything you'll need to know to be able to post it online and create it, from the hardware that you need to buy to compressing and uploading. And so really we should have interviewed Doug for the
pioneer. Yeah. What do you think of podcasting, Doug? You think it's going places? You think this is a flash in the pan? I never really know what.
It's already gone past that, I think.
It's already established.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, who knows what it actually becomes.
Total. What do your total downloads look like for all of the?
Well, we did 11 terabytes of audio in July. So,
wow.
That's a lot. I'm not sure what the numbers work out to be. I didn't bring the sheet.
I think we're around that. We did 27 terabytes.
Well, we do it with more shows on fewer listens per show.
Right.
But it gets up there. I think. I think the most telling sign about podcasting is probably the recent investments in Adam Curry's company, Pod Show, where you've got Kleiner Perkins.
Yeah.
And who was the other one? Was it Sequoia?
Sequoia.
KP is the big one.
Yeah, I mean, they invested $8.55 million. The dollars doesn't matter. The real key here is that John Doerr and Ray Lane are personally on their board of directors.
Wow.
And those guys, they don't give up their time easily. So I think the key is that this is not podcasting, I don't think. They call it podcasting, but I think there's something much, much bigger afoot here.
What is Pod Show? What is he trying to do?
Pod Show is, I would say it's a company that's trying to, up front, is trying to take advantage of every opportunity in podcasting, which is advertising, content, distribution, all the pieces of it. But I think, in fact, that there's something much bigger going on, and I look at it this way. I say, well, what's the next NBC? What's going to be the NBC that incorporates the buying habits and the watching and listening habits?
That's what he wants to be.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, if you look at iTunes and imagine where that's going, if you look at what's happening in the music industry today, the distribution is changing dramatically. Recognizing that in film and television and to some extent radio, distribution is going to change also. I think it's going to be quite different.
I have to say that's one of the things that kind of bugs me about Pod Show is it looks like it's an attempt to build a big business out of what is which is grassroots.
There's room for all of us, though.
Yeah.
I'm doing it nonprofit. I'm going really the other extreme.
Right, I'm doing nonprofit, but not on purpose.
But I think from our perspective, if we can get everybody able to listen on a much larger scale, that's going to be good for all of us.
Right.
So I think it's interesting. I'm fascinated to watch it.
You'd like to do that, Kevin, with Revision 3. You'd like to build a network, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the fact that we're putting together. I mean, Martin Sargent just agreed to do.
Are you kidding?
A podcast with us.
Oh, that's great.
So he's going to be putting out a podcast.
What's he going to do?
I think it's kind of a hybrid of what Unscrewed was, and change the name.
Is it video or audio?
It's going to be audio initially. It's called Infected. Is it going to be called?
Great.
So which is just another. It's pretty much going to be the podcast version.
Not
of
a
what
podcast,
was.
it's a puscast.
But you probably can get a little bit of a hint of what kind of stuff it'll be just by visiting his website.
Yeah. What is the URL?
I think it's what is it? SargeWorld.com.
Yeah, SargeWorld.
There was a fake one, but this is the real one.
That's the real one, and really, it's Martin Sargent, the character.
Yeah, quite a character.
Definitely.
Well, I always thought Marty could do a great podcast. In fact, I wanted to get him on here, but he's in L.A. So, Marty, if you're listening, come up. Be part of the show. Is he going to be doing it down there?
He'll be doing it down there. Him,
Joey,
the intern. Joey's really good.
That's an unholy alliance.
But Joey is extremely capable, and so he's going to be the technical. He's going to be the technical driving force of getting this thing. Because what they're going to do is they're going to record that, give it to us. He's going to do.
Because Martin's really too out of it to do anything like that. I mean,
I don't know.
Is he?
I mean, Joey also built SargeWorld.com, so.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, everybody like Martin needs somebody like Joey to kind of prop him up.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that Martin wants to focus on the artistic, and somebody needs somebody to put a microphone in front of him. Okay, you're not saying a thing.
I'm agreeing with you.
One of the things that you posted also was the Microsoft putting out more going head to head with Adobe.
I think this is actually very interesting. I'd like to hear what you think of this, Alex. Microsoft does want to eat Adobe's lunch. They want to get in that Photoshop space. They have this new.
Well, I think they want to get into the elements. I think they want to get into the elements.
The low end.
I don't think that they're.
People have been saying they've been writing an Adobe Photoshop killer for a while. Though.
Yeah. Well, I think that the problem is that the people who are really paying for Photoshop. I mean, there's a lot of people who aren't paying for Photoshop, but for the people who are paying for Photoshop, the designers, all of those other things, they're not. I don't think they're going to be using buying a Microsoft product anytime soon, away from what they're doing. I think that the real market there, what Adobe has left open for a long time is this They have Elements, which is very crippled compared to the full Photoshop.
Right.
And then they have no space in between. I mean, there's a $650 Photoshop.
No middleware.
Exactly. There's rumors that the next version of Photoshop will split. So you'll have the base. You'll have Photoshop that is less expensive, that has some of
like an SE version or a.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are in Photoshop that are pretty esoteric. I mean, guys like me use it, but a lot of people like HDR. Most people who use Photoshop don't even know what HDRs are, and there's a feature in there that'll build your own HDRs from a series of photos.
I don't know what an HDR is.
High dynamic range. It takes a whole bunch of exposures and sticks them all.
So you're saying Microsoft can't get into that space?
No, I'm saying that Microsoft is I think they're going to put more pressure on Adobe to put more features into either Photoshop Elements or bring a version of Photoshop into the $200 or $300 range that people can really afford. There's so much standardization. Photoshop is so mature and so much, owns so much of the market. I mean, it's basically the Microsoft of image editing in a lot of ways. I think the problem with Microsoft is they're going to do what they're going to do what they always do, which is they're going to build a lukewarm, kind of half-done version of something that is already pretty good. What is good is that somebody's going to push Adobe a little bit, because Adobe is, the development. They have to keep it stable, so it's a very slow development. But it would be really nice to get them pushed to make a cheaper version.
Wouldn't hurt.
It would be really great to get cheaper versions of Photoshop. Which I think that Adobe could make a lot more money if they had a version of Photoshop that was $299 or.
What do you think of the whole open source GIMP project?
GIMP I think it's really cool. I know that there's some production companies that use it because for a long time it had features that Photoshop didn't have. Some of the 16-bit editing and the high. And some really specific things. But the problem that what it really needs is an overhaul, of the interface, of the user experience.
Speaking of which, my buddy Scott Michella just created a version of GIMP called GIMP Shop.
Yeah. That's wild. That GIMP Shop's been out for a while, but it's getting a lot of attention now. He's a producer at AOTS.
Yeah, he's my old roommate back in L.A.
Now, he said he's not a programmer, but how did he do this?
Well, basically, I mean, there's just a bunch of files that you can edit before you compile.
The resources. So he's just editing the resources?
Yeah, he's just rearranging the menus, renaming a lot of the menu things to be, all Photoshop menus. So if you go into GIMP Shop, launch it, it looks
just like Photoshop.
Just like Photoshop. All the menu options are exactly the same.
I was thrilled that he did that.
Is that cross-platform?
Yeah. It's
he made it for OS 10, and it was popular enough that other people made it, so it was a version that would work in Linux, a version that would work in Windows.
Didn't the GIMP, purists get mad at him?
Oh yeah, they were pissed. It was so funny because when he originally he's like, I need some help, and I was watching through this entire process, and he posted to some of the GIMP official websites, and I asked him, they're like, don't even go there, we're not going to help you. So he had to do it all on his own.
Well, he did.
And that's what's held, but I would argue that's what's held GIMP back for so long. Are the people who created, and this is always, the revolutionaries who created it, they don't want to be just another Photoshop, but that's what they need to be. Like when I was working at Lucasfilm, we had this meeting with at the time Meta Creations, who had Painter, and they were. And they asked, they were like, how can we get you to use Painter instead of Photoshop? And we were like, well, make it look more like Photoshop.
Right. I know the menus.
I know all the menus. I don't want to learn something.
He didn't add any functionality. He's not a programmer. Right. All he did is make the menus
change the user interface.
Yeah.
Exactly. He was just interviewed by some of the guys that do the open source, O'Reilly's open source publication.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of that article said that he's straddling the line between upsetting the people at Adobe and upsetting all the developers of the original developers.
He made a lot of end users happy. I think it was a great thing, a great idea to do. And what I really like is he's not a programmer. He just said, it's easy. I'll just change the menus a little bit.
Yeah. I think for people who want to play with photos, I think it's a really great option. I think for pros, what Photoshop brings is this incredible stability, interactive. For the pros, they're not going to. But for people getting into it, $650 is a lot of money to buy for an image editor.
The pros have the money.
Yeah,
they can afford it.
It's well worth it. If that's what you do, it's well worth it.
And once again, hopefully this pushes Adobe to give us more features and elements, or a more affordable version. And I don't think it has to be $50. I think it can be $199 or $249. But they need a version that's much closer to the ground than
$199. That sounds nice.
$199 would be for something.
Good price point.
If it didn't do everything, it would be fine. I mean, if it didn't do 16-bit, like most people don't even know why they would use 16-bit. Pros all know why. They use 16-bit or 32-bit to not have, maybe not even have access to CMYK space. I mean, that kind of thing for the $199 version. That starts to make a lot more sense.
Well, I thought that was kind of the idea of Elements. It was pretty close to that.
It was, and then of course the problem from people like me is that they take out stuff like, they take out things they cripple things that I don't think are appropriate, like. They take out channels, which just takes out.
That's 99% of the
It's like,
functionality.
well, I mean, for like little retouching and everything else, it is what it is. But for big stuff, it becomes a real issue when you can't do anything really cool if you can't get a hold of the channels.
So TiVo
I think we want Robert to talk about this. So Engadget published the picture, and it's pretty clear that in the version 7 of TiVo,
7.2, which is a beta, actually.
Well, a broadcaster's going to be allowed to set a flag, they call it the red flag, that deletes the show. That says you can only keep the show for X number of days, and then we're going to erase it from your hard drive.
There are 3 modes. It's Macrovision. That's all it is. They've added Macrovision support fully, and 2 reasons TiVo did that was, one, so that they could offer the ability to burn stuff to a DVD and still retain some kind of copy protection on that. That's really the number one.
So when you burn it to a DVD from the TiVo, it will put Macrovision on there? So
you actually have a media access key.
Is that TiVo to go, or is it something separate?
No, that is TiVo to go.
It is TiVo to go.
It's the function that allows you to drag that content into your PC and then use a special burning app with the key that's unique to your player.
What's the story with this screen? Because I'm looking at Engadget and it says, thanks for recording this program. You have 7 days to watch it.
Well, up to this point, they said it's only going to apply to premium content like pay-per-view events.
Well, this is like a PBS show.
But it was revealed that they can actually, any broadcaster...
The broadcaster could flip it.
Any broadcaster could. And that's where I really think this probably happened, was that they probably have so much equipment sitting around in the broadcast, and it was probably defaulted to say, you know what, enable Macrovision. Nobody else is using it. Who cares? And then all of a sudden
but the Macrovision I thought was just copy protection. This actually deletes the file.
They can flag it to say you can never copy it, or for the next 7 days it can be unlimited. You can do whatever you want with it for the next 7 days.
So this was that you can't copy it, not that it will delete it.
The copying part also relates to that you can have networked TiVos, and you can actually set content from one TiVo to another, and then doing that and then being able to re-burn it off, say, with some of the set-top DVD recorders that they had. It's just a way for them to limit it, and it's standard. I don't imagine very many broadcasters are going to enable that just to keep it easy.
Well, Real Audio has something similar. You just flip this bit and people can't record it, and everybody flips it.
If every broadcaster does start using this.
Why is TiVo doing this, though? It seems like such a stupid move for them.
They're going to shoot themselves in the foot because nobody wants a machine that restricts how long. I don't want to suddenly...
Oh, it doesn't create a big hack community.
I stayed away from my TiVo for 10 days, and suddenly half of my content, can keep it for only a week.
Is gone?
Yeah.
Well, and it's going to...
Until I say delete, no longer works.
What's the point of having a TiVo if it deletes itself?
Well, it's great business for the PC DVRs. I mean, we have both the digital and the analog Elgato for the Mac that we have at the office, and those things, there's nothing. I mean, we can get digital broadcasts, or we can get the analog stuff off the cable, and it's not maybe quite as refined as TiVo, but it records to MPEG 2 straight to the drive as it's capturing. I can schedule it, I can do all those things, and I don't have to deal with. I always look at it like I don't have to deal with any of the TiVo stuff.
What about the recorders that you get from the cable companies and the satellite companies that are not TiVo? Do they have that same feature?
They could very well enable it as well. And I imagine from their end, they have
more incentive to do it than TiVo does.
I would think so. Definitely.
Why is TiVo doing this willingly? Why?
I think there's a lot of pressure on TiVo, don't you? I mean,
there's a lot of legal pressure.
They just had their first. I mean, they're in a world of hurt right now.
Well, they're looking at replay. They're saying there we do not want to go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's who knows what's going on behind the scenes, but I mean, for instance, as soon as people started hacking the TiVo enough so they could extract video from it, they started scrambling the video so that you couldn't do it. All along, they've been doing this.
You think TiVo's dead?
Yeah.
A year from now?
Yeah.
I don't know about a year from now, but I think
it's a shame because
the broadcasters start enabling this flag on all the
and they're gonna
standard.
It's a shame because
yeah,
I really absolutely. If they can, they'll flip it. Which means you can't go on a vacation longer than 7 days.
That will kill TiVo when that happens.
Yeah, I think they're dead.
But I
mean, here's a great product. World's greatest word of mouth. What happened?
Well, what happened is that you have all of a sudden, HD content and digital content, and there was no clean way to interface. You had to do that stupid little serial cable, that stupid IR switcher. Everybody wants one single unified box. And when Comcast started launching their HD boxes with the DVR built in, and they had all these cable providers that are launching DVRs, I mean,
it's
cool.
$10 a month.
Yeah, it's cool how TiVo can kind of suggest things for you, but not that cool to where you'd want to go through all the pains of having that conversion.
TiVo is the season pass. That's something very few other software.
TiVo does it better than anyone else. Everybody hates their cable company PVR, but they still do it because it's all inclusive.
And, I mean, well, think about it. Right now, I want to record an HD show on my TiVo. I can't do it unless I have that HD one from DirecTV.
Yeah.
And that sucks. I don't know. I mean, they've been promising one with a cable card slot, and, obviously cable cards, we're not seeing them quite yet. When are cable cards coming out, Robert? Do you know?
Cable cards are out now.
So you can buy one you can get one from Comcast right now?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So that they're making that mandatory,
Not in every
right?
market, no. I mean, on the TVs, will that be mandatory? I don't know.
What's the cable card?
It gets rid of the box altogether.
PCI slot on the back of your TV, and it'll instead of having a separate set-top box for your cable tuner.
But that's cool because then you can have this HD TiVo and then just plug in that cable card right in the back, and then you don't have to have that extra box. In theory, right?
Yeah, it just eliminates that hardware. But the problem is right now the current devices are only one way, where you can receive information, but you couldn't do like a pay-per-view event and say yes, I want to see that, and then it will transmit. The second generation will. But that's not out yet.
Yeah, it's just a bad time for
and
TiVo.
And it requires the TV to also have an integrated electronic programming guide because that wouldn't be part of
right.
it. There's some issues to it, but a lot of people like it simply because the visual quality is better than an external box. Having that tuner actually stuck into the TV with that kind of direct connection just makes the picture quality itself better. But it's really not until DirecTV is launching their MPEG-4 stuff now, and so is Dish Network. They're actually starting to transition as well. When that really gets going, you're going to see the set-top recorders that are MPEG-4 capable. That is where I think you can really see serious challenges to TiVo and anybody else doing TiVo.
DirecTV dumped TiVo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to...
So if I have a DirecTV box, it still says TiVo, though.
You can still buy them.
Yeah, they're still out there.
But going forward...
Lifetime service will never go away, supposedly.
Yeah.
Well, until that box dies, and then you have to buy a new box.
Yeah.
So our partners at AOL finally launched their podcasting page. We're right there up on front. So they've been providing us bandwidth for 2 months for this day. Now we're on the. So they have a number of different podcasts. Do they have some of your podcasts, Doug, on the AOL podcast channel? Well, they have to ask you.
I should go with them.
Oh no, they have to ask you.
Don't.
It's not like Adam Curry where they can just take it.
Replay you.
I'm serious. Just replay you without permission. You got replayed, right?
I keep them to dial-up users who are going to download these huge shows.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You got replayed? He played you on Sirius?
Apparently. I sent him a note saying, Adam, I heard that TWiT was on Sirius. We have a non-commercial.
Right.
You can't use it for commercial purposes. And he says, sent me a note back saying, didn't anybody ask you? I'm pretty sure we asked you.
Really?
And I said, well, he said, we sent a note to somebody. I said, well, I'm the only person you would ask, and I didn't get any note.
Yeah. He did the same thing with Dignation. And
he did. He just did it.
And we had no note or anything.
So what happened? So apparently that's what he's doing. He's just running stuff.
I didn't say anything. I was like, I don't care.
The only reason I care is I don't really care because it's good promotion. I think that's what he's assuming is everybody's going to want the promotion, except that AOL specifically said, because I asked him, I said, well, where else can we play it? And they said, anywhere but Sirius. And the reason is they have a deal with XM.
Right.
So, I just said, yeah, stop. And he stopped. And he said, by the way, you want to be part of this pod show? And I didn't answer. So maybe now that he's got 8.5 million, I'll be part of Pod Show. I don't want to be part of I don't want us to be a part of a big network. I like, we just do what we want to do.
Yeah.
If you're part of a big network, we'll have to.
It's fun to be independent for that reason.
Yeah.
You've got the most popular podcast probably of all of them.
So we don't have to worry about it.
We don't need anybody.
We don't need you. They did also, and I'm really pleased. You were the one, Doug, who told me about Podscope. Mm-hmm. They incorporated Podscope, which is an incredible podcast search. Have you played with Podscope?
No, I haven't.
Podscope is wonderful. Apparently, they're doing they're listening to the, what do you call that? The character recognition. The opposite.
Voice recognition.
Voice recognition. Yeah, that would be the other side of that. So that they can index the audio.
Yeah, the main company is called TVIs, and their business has been doing voice recognition on broadcast channels for a fee for their customers. So if you're Microsoft and you want to know every time your company's mentioned, or IBM, every time your company's mentioned, you pay them to let you know and to listen to all the streams.
That makes sense because they came out of nowhere so quickly.
Right. So they've been doing it for a long time. All the technology, turns out, it comes from just one or two places. Yeah. So you've got Podscope, you've got a company called Blinks, and a couple of others. The old companies were Virage and Autonomy, and there was all that old technology, which is now just being reused. They've been doing it for a long time.
It works well. Do a search for Kevin Rose on that. What's neat about it is that it will not only pull up the references, but you can play it from that point. You can play the audio from that point. Yeah. So if you want to just hear who's talking about Kevin Rose, you just press play and you can hear it.
They've got a nice new feature, too, which you'll be able to add to the TWiT podcast, which is not just is it their site where you look at all podcasts, but they'll be able to have a private search for TWiT. So you can just
I put it on the site that says search TWiT 4.
That's right. That's going to be very
When
nice.
does that start?
I don't know. I've seen it on a couple of sites. I think it's in beta, whatever that means.
I'd love to try that.
It's going to be out.
In beta.
That's the real problem, and people have said that right from the beginning with podcasts, is unlike a written word, they're not random access.
You're right. That excerpt feature is marvelous. Now, the key about it is it's dictionary-based, so they can only find words that they know ahead of time.
Right.
So if they search for some proper names that aren't in the dictionary, it doesn't work at all.
But the interesting thing is they have been adding stuff, because I could search for my name and it finds it.
Yep.
So, and I'm not in the dictionary, so
But you're a very important person.
I guess so. So they are adding words to the searches. Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Well, I think that was smart of AOL to incorporate that, because that'll make it much more usable for AOL subscribers.
Yeah, that was their big announcement. And they put things together very, very quickly. I think the podcast thing was done in about 4 weeks. That's how long it took to put that together.
The AOL thing or the
No,
Periscope?
Podscope. From the time they said, let's do it.
It's just boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you showed it to me, and I mean that was a month or two ago, and it's gotten better every day too. By the way, I've noticed. Are you playing with it right now?
Yeah, I just did some searches.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Find stuff from
Video
Dignation?
report, boom.
Did you find stuff from Dignation?
I didn't do a search for Dignation.
Because I don't know if they do every podcast yet. I mean, I'm sure that they do the top ones. You're certainly in the top there. You flew to L.A. to do Dignation this time.
Yeah, we're flying back and forth.
Because Alex is down there?
Yeah, Alex is coming up. Actually,
he must have frequent flyer miles like crazy.
I do the Southwest like $99. Done deal.
Man, it is pretty easy to get
It's
down
45
there.
minutes in the air. It's like you're there. But it's a lot of fun. We go back and forth. He's coming up here for the next 3 weeks, so that'll be good.
You excited about NASA going to the moon, David?
Oh, that's a big. I mean, that's just too much. It's too much. They got a deal between now and 2011. They're retiring the shuttle in 2010. They want to have their next vehicle up by 2011, but they're going to have several vehicles because they're going to have a crew exploration vehicle, and then they're going to have a separate vehicle for taking cargo up, and they're going to spend $11 billion on this, and $6 billion on that.
They will not launch that ever again.
The reason they're going to the moon is because they want to prove that they can go there and be resource efficient. They want to prove that they can go there and live off the land.
What land? It's rocks.
There's in the southern pole of the moon. There's more hydrogen. There's possibly some water ice. That's there.
Is this part of the Mars program, or is this just its own thing?
It's a precursor to it.
It's all part of Mars.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny that it's going to take us longer after 35 years. It's going to take us longer to get there again than it did the first decade. So it's
I honestly think it adds fuel to the fire. There's a huge community that says we didn't go to the moon.
Right.
And sometimes you think, you got to do this development, spend a decade of development, spend billions and billions of dollars. And here we are in 2005, but they went there in 19.
Oh yeah, there's lots of people that think there was a TV studio.
Hey, you gave me $100 billion, and I'll make a very convincing film that makes everyone think that we went back, and we'll just call it a day.
Put the money into Lucasfilm.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make it work.
The stories did point out though that they're looking at repurposing like the main shuttle engine as well as the
I think 5 of them. I think they were using
they want to use that to
devices
to reduce the development time. If they're using the same SRBs and they're using the same external fuel tank design, they're using the same shuttle main engine.
I think it's great. I mean, this is inspiring. I mean, you don't really need to do manned exploration. You don't learn anything more in manned exploration. But boy, it's great.
It's cool.
It's just cool.
It's sexy.
Yeah, it's sexy. That's why you do it, right?
Well, they've.
Where were you in July of 1969?
I know exactly where I was.
Were you watching it?
Doug and I are the only guys in this room old enough to remember it. You bet I was.
You're watching it. You can't stop.
I was 12 years old.
You're watching these guys on the moon, and you walk out. It was a full moon.
Never forget it.
And you walk out, and you look up, and you say, nah.
Wow. You didn't believe it?
No, I believed it.
It's amazing.
It was so overwhelming.
Mind-blowing to see that.
Have you been down to Florida to view the Saturn V in the museum?
I've seen a landing at the Edwards. That's the only thing I've seen.
I mean, they have the restored Saturn V, Smithsonian quality hanging above your
Those
head.
things are huge.
Oh, massive, 3-stage. But then it's like they let you relive that entire day of the moon landing with the news clips and everything.
For those of you who are too young to remember it, it's
5
really
months, baby.
Really? Yeah. That's all?
Another argument for both, when you're dealing with launching from either the space station or the moon, is that getting it to somewhere else takes a lot less fuel when you do it from space.
Low gravity or zero gravity, yeah.
I mean, almost all the fuel we use is to get us out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Right.
So the thing is if we can get if we can build something that's much larger on the moon or on a space station or whatever, there's a lot more stability as far as being able to. It's much easier to get.
I
out
just
of there.
think we need somewhere to go when the hurricanes start to get really
We need
bad.
a space elevator.
Well, they said, I think there was an announcement
would
that we're past the point of no return on global warming.
Oh, it's all
I heard someone said that it was like
that was the
the
story.
momentum is here.
That was the story in USA Today. It's that's why we're having all these big hurricanes. It's too late. It's the what was that movie? It's the
it's the day after tomorrow.
Actually, it was Waterworld to take off on that.
Is it? That's what's left?
Well, that was what was supposed to have happened. All the polar ice caps melted, and there's no land.
We would be underwater here.
We have some great lakefront property.
Yeah, exactly. Just start. What you have to do is make calculations, and then start building. Just start buying up lots of land. Right along the new shore. So.
Well, luckily here they're still above sea level.
Let's get some questions from the audience. If you have a question for the Twits, you could run up to the red microphone there and ask. And they're all looking like I didn't mean to wake you up. You probably didn't hear anything we said, did you? Okay, well, that's been an exciting portion of the program. I think we'll do that again.
But next week, the speaker.
but before someone runs up there, I want to ask what does everyone think of the new Nintendo Revolution controller? Robert Heron's cousin Ted Regulski is a big fan of it. They just released it. It looks like a TV remote.
It's a remote control.
You can turn
it
sideways, and it's got a motion sensor.
It sounds like it's a the gyration mice that allow you to just use it in the air, and it has a very good. What the hell is that thing?
You thought Nintendo thumb was bad. Now you're going to have Nintendo wrist by holding your hand out the whole time.
But then it's got a cord separate from that, so you have the analog stick in one hand, and then basically you have a device.
Is Nintendo a player in this market at all?
It's for the kids. They're going after the.
They have Mario.
Well, they got to do something
Zelda.
They got to do something different
Zelda.
because they got to distinguish them some stuff.
You've got PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
But if they price it low enough, everyone's going to buy it. I bought it just for Zelda, the old GameCube.
Did you really?
I think that they said Zelda from way back when.
$500 for the latest generation console. Oh, the Xbox comes out next month?
Next month, yeah.
Next month?
Yeah.
November.
In time for Christmas.
Are you going to get one for your kids?
Oh yeah. But I have to hack it.
Yeah.
Right? Because my Xbox is a thing of beauty. Thanks to somebody I won't name in this room.
That's right.
But that's
Is
great.
that your media center?
No, I just use it for games, but it's loaded with games. I mean, it's full of games. I have probably 100 games on that hard drive.
Well, Nintendo said they said that they were going to include you're going to be able to download and play all the previous games that they made.
But that's one thing that nobody's done well, which is backward compatibility.
Xbox games or
No, original
Nintendo. So they said, I'm not sure if it's original,
nice.
but
that
it
is
was
very nice.
And then that's what
It'll take like 5 seconds. It's so small.
It's 37K.
Mike Tyson punch out. Boop. Tecmo Bowl. Boop.
Have you ever downloaded
ROMs?
just like VisiCalc is online. You can download VisiCalc, the first spreadsheet program. It's 37K. it's like
they embed them in web pages and let you or utilize classic apps.
This stuff is not
So how do you
particularly
use taxes?
Yeah, VisiCalc. Yeah. I still those slash commands. I got them built into my fingers. Go ahead and ask a question. What's your name first?
Hey guys, my name's Neil. I'm from Ottawa, Canada.
Hi, Neil.
Hey.
What brings you down here?
Meeting Larry at Oracle conference.
Oh, cool. All right.
So here's the situation. I love my tech toys and I love my wife. I want to keep both. How do you guys do it? How do you guys get permission?
Here, let me give you a TWiT pocket protector. Every woman wants one of these. I'll tell you right now. I'll give you two.
No for my arms.
So, how long have you been married? 3 years. Well, I know Doug K's solution is what you moved everything into the you work out of the house.
Studio 2. My wife and I share Studio 2. We have two desks facing one another, and we work in the same room. She has nothing to do with what I do. But the best thing was when she went away for a week, I covered my side of the office with acoustic foam.
So your marriage isn't too good either.
It's only been 34 years.
She's doing all right. My wife is not a geek at all. Has no interest in this. She's never heard TWiT. She's seen very little of any of my TV shows. Same with my kids. It's just a different life, and I just try to, pretend I'm going to work. And then
is that when you buy the new laptops and the new screens, you say, it's work related.
It's all for work.
It's all for
It's all for work, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all for work.
Hey, I work on movies. When I go to a movie, it's all for work.
Everything.
Good cover story is what you're saying.
Good cover story.
Kevin just changes girlfriends every few weeks.
Right.
Sorry. I said that. Oh, Amber's going to be here next week for TWiT.
She'll be
I'm
here.
very excited about that. Yeah. See you, Ted. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Ted took the ferry. Anybody who took the ferry here, you should probably get going because the ferry leaves at 5:30. So please leave. That's a good question, though. How do you keep your spouses from?
You've got to make sure that your spouse has the same kind of passion that you don't share, and let their spouse go and do their thing too.
And that's it. Now, does your wife?
My wife is into martial arts. Right, so she'll go off and do her martial arts stuff, and I'll do my tech stuff. And
well, same thing with my wife. No interest in tech, but she has her own passion.
Yeah.
And then we meet for dinner.
Yeah.
My fiance works at the.
She's a
CFO,
yeah,
so she tells me what I'm allowed to spend and what I'm not. So it has her have some sense of control, which he does, and I have to ask for permission for everything. So
and Robert just dates strippers, and they don't care. We're really wrong.
I have good-looking neighbors.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Hurston. I'm here from San Francisco.
Hi, Hurston.
Hello. My question is, do you guys listen to podcasts other than the ones you're involved in? And if so, what are some of your favorites?
Great question.
Yeah. My favorite podcast is Ira Flato's Science Friday, actually.
That's really, I hear a lot of people listen to that.
And they put out a lot of them, and they separate, like sometimes they'll have 3 or 4 topics on the radio, but they'll separate them into individual subjects so you can download the ones.
It's NPR. Almost all the NPR shows now are starting to be a podcast. I think it's very smart.
Except for All Things Considered, which is the one that I want.
They do their music. And they do like headlines. I know. I wish they do all things.
Makes me crazy.
Fresh Air needs to be a podcast.
So Morning Edition and All Things. Those are the only 2 that I really, like, if they just handled that, I would have no need for a radio.
And why wouldn't you if you're public radio? What do you got to lose, right? It's not like you're going to undercut your. I don't know. Maybe they don't.
Well, there's a big fight going on in public radio between the people who produce the content and NPR. NPR is sort of the evil empire.
I see. And so they don't like it that they're...
Well, the NPR just launched their official podcast, about 2 weeks ago, was it, I think? NPR.org.
Yep.
And I think most of the stations who contribute content contributed their second-tier content to that.
Yes.
They didn't put their best stuff up.
That's right.
And things like Fresh Air are privately produced. I mean, they're not produced by a station. Right. That's Terry Gross's.
What do you listen to? You probably don't have a whole lot of time, Doug.
I don't even listen to everything we produce.
Yeah, 12 an hour, 12 hours a week.
But when I want to take a break, I've got 2 music podcasts I like. One is Roadhouse, which is blues, and Coverville is still pretty good with a lot of unusual covers.
Yeah, I love Coverville.
But it's just too much for me.
That's probably the biggest problem with podcasting right now. There are too many of them. And it's almost overwhelming. You feel like I can't keep up, and you kind of give up because there's just too much.
I think that there is a big market. I think people are working on it, of being able to sort through like what people really like. I mean, obviously the top 20 in iTunes helps because you get to see what stuff. But like I dig, like one of my favorite, I listen to like Dig Nation and watch Command N, and then. But then also I watch, I'm from Pittsburgh, so there's a Steeler podcast that I listen to every week religiously.
There's a Philadelphia Eagles one.
I do a Green Bay one. That's funny. We'll have our Philly podcast.
But it's great because I'm out of Pittsburgh and I can't keep up with all the news. All I know is that the Steelers won today, 27-7. Just thought I'd let everybody know. But it's something that I feel totally disconnected from, and it's really, really great. So that I think is, and all of us obviously have different ones that.
Well, you're starting to see a few services. Lumia, Loomia, is an interesting one because they're starting to do recommendation engines for podcasts. We're all essentially competing for drive time. It's drive time, it's exercise time, and what else is there? People don't have enough time. Right. So you'll see recommendation sites coming out. Odeo, I think, is going to be doing more of that.
Cool.
So I think that's a good way for people to find
I
stuff.
hope somebody perfects that service or a ranking or something just to let you browse what's out there a little easier because that's one of the curses and benefits of IP media in general is just that
too much.
So many people, anybody can do it.
Right. It would be great if people rated it also by.
I'd love to hear, but either I never.
How do you find it?
Or,
It'd be great to also know the quality of the content and also the quality of the podcast. I mean, does it sound like it was in somebody's closet, or does it sound like it's
generate that rating system?
Yeah, we have on the news thing we're building. We have 3 ratings for every podcast. It's the audio quality, the content quality, and the geekiness, which is no matter what the topic is, how deep is it? Is it for average people, or
I like that.
Is it for people who are way deep into technology?
Yeah, because some of your talks are marketing folks, and I'm less interested in that than if somebody's going to talk about something really deep.
But if it goes deep biotech, you might say,
well, no, I love that.
Do you?
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I have to steer clear of
I'm listening to more and more of that. Yeah. Well, what else do you listen to, Ken?
There's one I like that they only have one episode out right now. It's called the Web 2.0 Show.
And do you listen to it over and over?
I've listened to it 20 times.
My favorite podcast.
No, it's quite good. These guys just talk about next generation website technologies. You know, the Ajax and like the
I'm fascinated by that.
Stuff.
Yeah. I've been a little disappointed. There's a Perl podcast, there's a Python podcast, there's a Ruby on Rails podcast.
Yeah.
None of them. It's hard, I guess, to do programming as a podcast. I mean, what are you going to talk about?
Yeah. Did you listen to the Ruby's on Rails? I haven't heard that one yet. But
yeah, it's kind of produced in a tunnel way down. You know, it's hard to listen when you can't really hear it very well. But yeah, I've been trying, and I keep subscribing to it because I'm fascinated by this stuff.
Yeah, same here.
The Python podcast is pretty good, and there's a Cocoa podcast where the guy, and I think this is one way to do it, talks to developers. So interview developers about what they do, what's their workflow and stuff. It's hard. You can't really say, well, okay, here's a problem when you've got a hook that you you can't. You're not going to talk about that. What do you listen to, David? Do you listen to podcasts?
Well, I just mentioned like the Science Friday one. Another one that I think.
Right.
I suppose this
you get credit.
This is pretty from a liberal point of view. I suppose there's one that's called Weekly Radio Address. I think it's some comedian who decides to do a 2-minute a week podcast, about 2 minutes per week, where he does a mock on George Bush giving the Weekly Radio Address.
I like that.
He's really funny, but I mean, again, like he's very a certain type of.
What's the name of that? Do you know?
I think it's called Weekly Radio Address. I mean, if you type in Weekly Radio Address podcast or something like that.
I want to hear more comics doing those. There's a few comics doing podcasts. Dan Class does one. But I'd like to hear more. I think that's a good.
You mean comedy or like
just kind of talking and being funny. You know. I want to hear more radio drama. That's what I'd like to do. Is more theater.
We're very curious to see how the Smart and Sergeant podcast goes. So. It could be funny.
He's a very funny guy, and if it's well produced, it could be a hoot.
Yeah.
Do you listen to anything at all, Robert?
Not enough. Apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to the stuff we do just to check it out. But
what's funny is the Catholic Insider. You ever listen to that? Because I think he's a priest, and I think he always wanted to be a radio guy because it's really produced, He's got music and he's talking like this, and it's fun though. It's quite well done. I think it's quite entertaining. It's the only time I've ever heard a sound seeing tour that was actually entertaining. He did one of.
He got some special scoop in the Vatican, didn't he?
Yeah, he was there during the election of the Pope and stuff. So that's kind of interesting, and it's an example of a real niche-y podcast that actually could be quite well.
The Catholic Church is a really large niche. I mean,
but I'm not that interested in the Catholic Church. But if it's well done and the guy's kind of interesting, you can make almost anything interesting. I guess that's what you're talking about with a passion. Yeah. If you have that passion, that comes through and you listen to it.
And I'm hoping that we've been talking. I mean, Kevin's doing one on how to do podcasting. We're talking about doing stuff that talks about the technology of it, but also how to use in the Pixel Core of how to use your voice, how to do do all those pieces, because it's something that is really missing. I mean, a lot of podcasts. Hello, this is.
Oh, there's thousands of people.
And
the funny thing is, they're not that bad. They just need a tiny little bit of tweaking. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that
they just need to run around and be 10 times more excited.
A little more
for about
energy.
half an hour before they start the show, and then they'd be set.
I think if they all talk like this, it'd be a lot better.
Leo makes it sound easy.
Yeah, everybody should talk like this. That's the key.
Jumping into that.
I could teach anybody to talk like that. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm Alex. I came down from Medford, Oregon.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
I'm popular in South Dakota.
I am. I was wondering what you guys thought of this. I saw this on Dig, actually, the new Microsoft Max. It's It looks like it's a direct competitor with Google's Picasa. You heard of that?
It must be part of that.
Oh, yeah, Microsoft's new application, right? Their video, or their image.
Off of WinFX and.
Yeah, I did see that actually.
I haven't even looked at the app yet.
Have you heard about that?
Is it part of the expression package or is it something else?
It's a new application that Microsoft just launched last week.
It's the Paint application, right?
Is that no? It's like a photo organization.
Yeah, it's like Picasa. You just pull in all your photos.
I think I dug it. Let me find
that. I mean, if you have a computer just full of every image you've taken for the last 5 years in no particular order,
that's what you need.
It's a great tool for straightening it out and then backing it up.
Right.
It'll offer to
Picasa. You're talking about Picasa.
Yeah, look for duplicates, eliminate them for you, and then let you burn it off to a media.
It's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
And actually, to add to that, I was just wondering what you guys thought about this sort of battle that's going on between Google and Microsoft, and is it going to come to a head soon?
Doug says Google's about to buy Yahoo, or was it Yahoo's about to buy Google?
No, first way. Not about to. I don't know how soon it is, but I just remember you heard it on TWiT first.
That Google will buy Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
That would make a giant.
That's almost
company.
that's That's almost an SEC. You know, I mean, that's almost
No,
like
as long as there's Microsoft's around, they'll get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that would be very interesting. I mean, it really is. It's coming down to the big players now, and they're all looking for that kind of domination. And it's Google, it's Yahoo, it's Microsoft. There's the Microsoft Max. Oh, I did. I looked at that website. Yeah. I didn't download it though. I'll have to download it.
Yeah, I haven't downloaded it yet either.
What's the
it's
URL?
Microsoft.com/Max.
MAX.
I'm really interested to try. I loved Picasa, and I can see improvements that could be made. And if Microsoft makes a better one, like I'll use it.
You know that they probably had that in the lab, just sitting on a shelf.
Because they didn't acquire somebody for this.
No, somebody had written it, and you know. They probably have stuff like that all over the place, right?
No, they bought it for $2.6 billion from... No.
It was a Skype product. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jesse. I'm here from New York.
Hi, Jesse. What brings you out here from New York?
I came for you guys.
No.
I'm here with my wife on a small vacation.
How do you keep your wife from hating geeks? I see you brought her.
Yeah, she's back there.
She doesn't mind that you geek out, huh?
No, I just, it's a give and take situation. You know, I let her go shopping for a while, and she lets me go shopping for a while.
There you go.
She spent a while in Union Square. I spent a while in the Apple Store. It worked out well.
That's a good relationship.
But I'm wondering what you guys think of mobile computing in the future, with Verizon launching their wireless broadband and all these other companies trying to push data on you, but it doesn't really seem to be catching. Nobody's really catching on, saying, "Hey, I could buy a nice cell phone and use the internet anywhere." Where do you guys see it going in the future?
Well, I think that one of the big players that's going to be coming out is Amped Mobile, and they're going to be. And I mentioned it, I think, in the last show, and it's not anything like what Verizon has right now. So they took in $67 million in their first round, and they start rolling stuff out in, I think, October, November limited. And
is it EVDO or is it?
It's EVDO. It's what we mentioned. It's 2.4 megabits per second to the phone, but it's going to
2.4 megabits.
So that means 30 frames a second to the phone. You know, and a really hot interface. It's going to be,
but it's not VCast. It's not what they're doing.
It's not what they're doing now. It's going to be a completely new process, and it's going to. I think it's going to really change the way we. I mean, I don't
like surfing with a phone. See, I don't know if that's a good device for surfing, but for watching a little video.
And the thing is at that rate, I mean, they're making deals with
That's
ESPN, with
fine. I could see watching the Steelers game on your phone, right?
I totally do it. And especially when you're traveling.
Can I use that as a modem with my PC though?
What?
Can I use that as a modem for my notebook?
I don't think so. I think that's always the.
That's like I get 2.4 megabytes to my phone.
But I mean, there's a lot of times like when I'm sitting.
No, I want 2.4 megabits to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great device. I mean, if you get Wi-Fi, if you got enough
bandwidth. You told me anywhere
bandwidth,
within your cell network, I can receive 2.4 megabits to my notebook with a USB cable. Or
then I'd be happy.
Oh, I'd be right on it.
They're doing that, and they're doing that right now. If you in the EVDO markets, you can buy a PC card with an antenna,
right, and
you have access. You have full access to the EVDO network. I don't know if it's that fast, but it's good. It's ISDN or better.
I'll try to find out from them. I think
that's what Verizon's selling right now in LA. You could buy that card.
But I think
soon here, by the way.
When you look at companies like ESPN is probably right on the front edge of a lot of how do we use our media in every possible way known to man. And I think that
they're good at that. They even got stores. I always thought we should have a Tech TV store.
They have stores. They have restaurants.
No, they're not even stores or restaurants. They're amusement centers. They've got games. They've got TVs. They've got food.
HD bar.
It's a sports zone, they call it. Incredible. There's one in Disneyland. There's one in Baltimore. There's one in Times Square. Yeah.
But I mean, that's a perfect example of if I could see highlights for me of the Steelers on my cell phone.
Well, that's a great market.
I'd be all over that.
That's
there's a lot of times. I mean, I do want to be able to connect it to my computer, but I also. There's sometimes like when I want to watch, like I end up watching movies on. I just got I finally got a PSP, the Sony PSP, and I watch movies while I'm standing in line for like when I'm on flights, when I'm standing in the really really long line at SFO to get on my flight. I sit there and I'm just watching my movie. I don't care how long it takes.
You get them on the UMD format, obviously.
No.
Okay, you use it. You get it as a web browser and you.
He downloads it.
Get content through the internet.
Oh, there's a lot of
something like that.
Something like that.
PSP.
Has
anybody yet cracked the PSP in terms of being able to use full resolution?
Yeah.
For your own
the H264. There's a lot of people working on it, but I don't think it's some wanky version of H264. So right now you have to use the MPEG-4. You can put it on the memory stick,
but you don't get the full resolution.
Yeah.
You don't get the full resolution, but someone's going to figure it out. I mean, all it is a retooled H.264.
They've hacked the UMD. It can't be much longer before they figure out how to get full res out of it.
I mean, generally, the one thing to be careful of with your PSP is almost every update to the operating system is security.
Yes.
It's all it is. They're not improving anything on it.
Yeah.
All they're doing is making it.
Well,
breaking
they added
whatever
the web browser and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
that makes me feel better.
It's a way to.
Up until 2.0, though, all the 1 points
were just little
they were all
fixes,
let's break all the things, all the cool things that we did.
Yeah.
You know.
Next week, Jen Cutter will be on the show a little bit talking about that. She hacked my Sony PSP, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Amber MacArthur's coming down, too, from Toronto to visit us. She'll be on the show, and I trust you all will be back. Doug, come back anytime. We'd love to have you back.
I need the exercise.
It's only a mile, and the beer is free, and the peanuts, well, we'll charge you for those, but that's all right. All the pocket protectors you can carry home. I want to thank everybody for showing up here. I also want to thank America Online Radio for providing us with the bandwidth at podcasting.aol.com or something like that. AOLmusic.com. That'll get you there with the new Podscope interface. Alex Lindsay at Pixelcore, thank you for bringing your crew out here.
It's my pleasure.
I can't wait to see this video.
And this was on 1 day's notice, so they all it was amazing.
We talked about this in Toronto on
Friday night. And here they are. So I'm pretty excited about it. We're hoping to. This is the first round. We'll keep on playing with it, and we'll see how this one turns out. But we'll keep on playing with it and see how it turns out. I'm
going to send this edition to Ashley TWiT to get debuzzed. You did a good job of debuzzing the last one. We still have a little buzz in here. I don't know where that's coming from. And I really want to thank we have 60 or 70 people here. I really want to thank you all for being here. You're kind of scaring me. Robert Heron, David Prager, Kevin Rose, Doug Kay, Axel Lindsay. Yeah, that's good. Usually we'll do rag and you could get a guy named Flea and you'd be set. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Another TWiT is in the can. Thank you, everybody. I should have paid attention. I don't know what am I doing. Too much work. The problem is, there's no limit. My server's completely collapsed. So here's the deal. I'm just trying to get the thing up, but I have a hell of a time. What blue screen's like? Forget it. I'm killing you. Round the horn. Doing the TWiT. All right. Doing the TWiT, baby. Doing the TWiT. All right. Doing the TWiT, baby. Doing the TWiT, all right. Doing the TWiT, baby. Doing the TWiT, all right. Doing the TWiT, baby. Doing the TWiT, all right. Doing the TWiT, baby. Let's go round. Round the horn. All right. PS3 handheld device, memory stick, Linux. Napster, Megabyte, SIP phone, Mac and the antivirus, Microsoft MP3, Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2, Service Pack 2, Screen Firewall,